Hi folks, today we've got a Sofirn Q8 Pro to have a look at. It's one of the latest offerings from Sofirn, and at 11,000 lumens, 4 Cree XHP 50s tucked in there. I believe that it's the brightest light that Sofirn currently do. There have been a few iterations of the Q8. The Pro, this one, is the later one. And I think some of the early ones off the production line had a smooth reflector, whereas the later ones and the more recent have this orange peel reflector. I did ask Sofirn about that, and they explained that the orange peel gives a better beam profile. Okay, now there's so much to tell you and show you about this light. In fact, that much that if I attempt to do it, I'm going to absolutely bore you to tears. So let's just have a quick look what we get in the box, and then we'll get into the detail. A few spares, Type-C, USB charging, and the manual. I'm not going to go through all of this, and I'll explain why in a moment. There's kind of our basic initial observations there in terms of its output. It does mention there, look, premium HD batteries. We'll come back to that. Quick start, safety precautions, loads and loads and loads of stuff. Anduril 2, advanced UI, all manner of stuff there that you can have a look at and tinker about with. And what that's to do with, the UI on this particular model, Anduril 2, and what that means for all us mere mortals is that you can tinker around with all manner of things. In fact, just about anything you could possibly think of, you can tinker around and customize and change all manner of bits and bobs to do with this light and how it performs and operates. Typically speaking, though, you'd have something particular in mind. So, you know, if you wanted to muck about with the blinky modes, for example, you may or may not want to do that, and that's why I'm not going to try and go into it all. But what I will do is pick out kind of the key parts. Now, the light comes shipped on its simple UI, and what that means is most of your functionality and ability to tinker around with things is not available. You've just got its basic operations. It does mention there that the maximum brightness is limited to make the light safer. That's not actually correct. From its on position, as you can see, that's pretty bright. And we've got ramping mode by default, and it will ramp all the way up to its maximum power and back down again on its standard. And you can use it like that out of the box, keep it on its simple UI, and just basically forget about all the other bits and bobs that you may or may not want to have a tinker around with. So you don't need to go into all that detail in the manual to actually get the light to work. Just your important key parts is the one click on, the one click off. You can ramp up, down, and so forth. 3 clicks will change it to a stepped mode, if that's how you prefer it. And 3 clicks will take us back to our ramping mode, and 4 clicks will lock out the light. And that's really all you actually need to know. If you do want to move to the advanced UI and have a play around, I'd recommend that you obtain and get hold of this kind of user chart, and you can see here that we've got certain functions that are available in the simple UI, and then all the extra bits and bobs that we can have in the advanced UI. Now, I will just draw your attention to this, and this is me now cherry picking what I think to be the important parts. We can see there on the ramp in its simple UI, as I mentioned, it will ramp all the way up and all the way down. Whereas in the advanced UI, by default, it'll ramp up to just below, and then a double click will take you to turbo. And that's the first thing that you would notice that will stand out to you when you change from advanced to simple, as well as, of course, unlocking all these other bits and bobs. Now, what I would suggest, and I'm going to show you this in a moment, the factory setting on the temperature regulation is 45. Now we can change that, and what I'm going to do is show you in a moment why I'm going to suggest that we do that, and that's probably about as far as I'm going to dip into the differences between the advanced and the simple. So we've got those really obvious things that we just pointed out there, but also the ability to calibrate the thermal step down. And that, I think, will be the main reason why most people will want to consider using the advanced UI. So we'll concentrate a little bit on that. And just bear with me a second now while I clear all this lot out of the way. The first thing, we'll have a quick look at that. Let me put my lux meter on. Can you see it? Does it help if I put that light on? Yeah, that helps, doesn't it? What's our output there? Can we see it? 560 odd. Okay, zoom back out. Another thing I like about this light as well, the battery compartment. It doesn't have one of, sorry about that, it doesn't have one of those kind of horrible cradle cum case things that you kind of have to load your batteries into and inevitably end up scratching them and damaging them whenever you put them in the torch. I'm going to put some Samsung 25Rs in there at the moment, high drain batteries, and go back to our turbo. Yep, so we can see there we have got a little bit of increased power on there. What did I say it was? 570, something like that. So a little bit extra. That's because the Sofirn batteries that it comes with, in fact all of the Sofirn batteries, 18650, beg your pardon, not all of the Sofirn batteries, the 18650s, they're not high drain. I think they're about 8 amps, something like that, I'm not sure. And that's why you're getting a little bit more juice out of it with the Samsung 25Rs, or indeed anything else equivalent to them. I've found, however, though, this light's that blooming bright, and I've tried it a couple of nights with and without, high drain batteries, and I can't really notice any difference between the two. It's that bright with the Sofirn batteries anyway, so I'd probably be just inclined to keep it like that. Now, what I'm going to do now is show you the default temperature step down. Now, when you are mucking about with the Android UI, to reset it back to factory, unscrew the tail cap, press the power button, tighten it back up. There you go. It's now back to its factory setting. So if you go in and you're mucking around and you think you've messed something up, that's all you need to do. A little bit of an unscrew, hold the button, tighten it back up, and it's reset. It'll reset its temperature calibration as well when you do that, so it's always best to make sure that the light's at room temperature before you do that. So don't do what I've just done, because I have just had the light on and it's not at room temperature now, it's a little bit warm. So I'll pause this, I'm going to let it cool down, and then we'll have a closer look. Okay, let me start my timer. You can see our lux meter there. I'll ramp up to full power. We're on the simple UI. You can see there we're at 590 with our time. The factory setting is 45. So let's just see how long it's going to hold its output for before it starts to drop. You can see there we're not holding overly long on the turbo, and you can see that that's because we hit the 45 and it drops down. We can, if we like, just re-engage turbo and go again, and it is feeling pretty warm. There we go. So you're getting about a minute, aren't we? Something like that. So that's in its basic setting, standard UI, straight out of the box. Sorry, not standard, simple UI. Straight out of the box, and a slight difference depending on what type of batteries you want to use. Now, to change in between your simple and your advanced, it's 10 clicks and hold on the 10th click. So you're pressing it 9, and then the 10th time you're going to press it and hold it. That'll move to your advanced UI. And if you're in your advanced UI and you want to go back to your simple, it's just 10 clicks. So to move to our advanced, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold on the 10th. So now I know I'm in the advanced UI. So one of the things, in addition to the obvious that I mentioned, that you might want to use the advanced UI for is this thermal calibration. As mentioned, it's set at 45 from the factory, which is pretty conservative. I have tried it at 60. I wouldn't recommend that. Ouch! Oh dear me, no. I think I'll tone that down a little bit and I'll find somewhere in between, but I don't think I'll be keeping it at 60. Having had a tinker around with it, I found 55 to be about right. And just kind of putting that into English, from off you would do 3 clicks, takes the battery check, we don't want that. Then you go to 2 clicks, which is temperature check, we don't want that. 7 clicks and hold on the last click and keep holding. The first blink will be where you can calibrate your temperature, as in the temperature of the light, not its ATR. If you wait until the second blink, you can then tap in that criteria. So I mentioned 55, that will be 25 presses. So 25 plus 30 equals 55. And that will recalibrate the ATR to step down at 55 instead of 45, which is how I've been using mine. And if you get it wrong, because it's a little bit complex, isn't it, all that little lot, when you're sitting kind of, 3 clicks for the battery check, 2 clicks for temperature check, and so forth. If you kind of cock it up and you get it wrong, just unscrew it, press the button, and reset back to factory. But do make sure that you're at room temperature, or sorry, with the lights at room temperature before you start doing the reset. So if you do cock it up, I mean, you can reset it as much as you like, but reset it once it's at room temperature and then go in and have another go. And then you'll see how it performs, and basically it's going to hold that highest output for quite a bit longer. Let's now stop talking and take it out and show you what it can do. Right, folks, so we've got the Q8 Pro now. I'm on its lowest ramp mode, and it's quite a fast ramp. Wow, that doesn't look as though it's overexposing. I'll just put a comment on if I get home and I find out it is, but that's looking pretty accurate to my eye. I'll move the camera around, I'm not moving the torch. That's just a phenomenal amount of light. And I'm on its advanced UI, so that's not on turbo. Now we are. That might be just overexposing a touch now, just down here. just the highest ramp node. My God. And then turbo. That's just absolutely throwing light everywhere. And I'm getting, well, you get pretty decent run times on the simple UI setting. It's not on the manual. The manual said you didn't get full power on its on the simple UI on its maximum ramp. You do. So you're quite happy to use this, or if you want to, on its simple, and you can get the full power. Or you can do what I've done. Gone to the advanced, and I've just upped the step down to 55 instead of 45. But we're certainly not short of light here, are we? And move along and see if I can just show you in a few different places. A little bit further on now with the Sofirn. It's not designed as a thrower, is it? It's a floodder. Let me put a picture of where I am. That's 100 metres across there. I'm not on turbo, I'm on its highest ramp. And there's turbo. That is just immense, isn't it? Huge amount of light being thrown out. Let's go into our highest non-turbo. There we go. Highest ramp. Moving down the side of this lake. You can see all the spill over the water, can't you, as well? It's just illuminating absolutely everything. And then turbo. We're getting down to that corner there. Yeah, fine, no problem. That's going on towards 200 metres. That tree line down there. Back up again. Quick scroll. Highest non-turbo again. Just twizz around and show you up this path. You're certainly not short of light, are you? Back round again. And a little blast of turbo again. Just to show us how amazingly impressive that is. And I don't think, as a final note, I don't think that there's anything that's putting out this kind of power with this kind of spec for anywhere like the price that these are running for. I can't think anything that's even close, even at double the price. One last look and we'll pack up and go home. Thanks, folks.